very good day to you. Welcome to Insight. My name is Nnamdi Odipo. Nigeria is a country with diverse landscape, beautiful scenery, and many destinations with cultural and historical significance. All of these combine to make Nigeria a country with huge tourism prospects. Unfortunately, Nigeria is not where it should be in terms of fully commercializing tourism. Why is this so, and what are the factors inhibiting tourism development in the country? That is the focus of discussion on Insight today. And of course, I have with me Cecil Egbele, who will be presenting the media reviews segment. Cecil?
All right, Nnamdi, on the media review segment, we shall lend a voice to that of Nigeria's Information and Culture Minister Alhaji Lai Mohammed as he propagates the total elimination of untrue news, better still, fake news. Fake news will be our focus on the media review segment today. It is cracking the very foundation of Nigeria's unity. That will be our focus, Nnamdi.
Yeah, that promises to be quite exciting, Cecil. Well, we will be talking about fake news in our media review segment. Up next is the discussion segment. Thanks for staying with us. Like we did promise, tourism is the issue here on Insight for today. Of course, we will be looking at domestic tourism and also international tourism, how to turn the tide and make great gains in tourism in Nigeria. I have joining me to discuss the challenges inhibiting tourism development in Nigeria, the Director General of the Nigerian Tourism Development Corporation, NTDC, Folorunsho Folarin Koka. Welcome to Insight.
Nnamdi, pleasure to be here.
Let me quickly bring this up. I do know that the Senate has passed, sometime last year passed the NTDC bill, which is awaiting the President's assent. Of course, we envisage that these would push into full trust tourism development in the country. But before we go into all of that, I am also aware that you were appointed to your current position sometime last year in 2017. What was your impression of the sector at the time? And how did this help in making you perhaps come up with a medium-term, short-term, medium-term, and long-term objective for developing tourism in Nigeria?
Thank you. You've asked quite a few questions in one. I have worked in government in some capacity or the other for going on 20 years. And I have a rough idea what any state agency or federal agency, the state of the operations. Yes, there were challenges. There were challenges in terms of the structure of the organization, how we related to the private sector, the stakeholders. Over the years, there's been a lot of tourism by noise, by press, by just chatter. What is the real impact of every naira you expend on the tourism industry? In what direction is it taking the tourism industry? What is the foundation that that expenditure is contributing to, and what are the possibilities for the future? Tourism isn't a leisure business. It's serious business that commands very serious revenues. I therefore had the initial challenge of focusing or refocusing the trajectory of NTDC and where we wanted to go. The law that governs tourism in Nigeria is 40 years old. A 40-year-old law cannot contain best practices in 2020. So the first thing we did was to push the legislative bill that was currently in Senate, push it to the point where we had all the public hearings and we crossed the line. It's been approved by Senate, sent to the House of Representatives for concurrence in November last year, or October last year. We have had 2 readings and we hope that it will attain concurrence of the House of Reps in the next few days and head for the presidency for assent. What does the law do? The law simply allows us to treat tourism as a business. It is until you treat it as a business, apply the rules of business to it, that you will be able to attract investment into it and then reap the kind of rewards that the rest of the world that depends on tourism is reaping. I mean, it employs about 300 million people. It's the largest employment of labor in the world, strategically women and the youth. And if you look at the problems we have with our demography in terms of employment, you will see that those two segments are the big segments. It's responsible for about $7 to $8 trillion in global revenue. This is something that could help Nigeria. And if you compare it to all the other traditional employment-generating activities, like manufacturing, like agriculture, those have gestation periods. You've got to bring the factors of production into a particular location to bear on labor for you to be able to start producing products that you can take to the market. Agriculture also has a gestation period, even though whether we like it or not, we need it. But tourism consumes the products of both. And our tourism assets are already here. The hotels are here. The roads, whatever the condition they are, they're here. The people, 200 million of them, they're here. It's a question of just rearranging it to build a solid foundation of domestic household tourism assets that we can then build a solid platform of tourism assets that you just connect an international ticket to, and you say we have Nigeria as an international destination for tourism. It's just that ticket. Most of the consumption is by our own people.
Well, you've ruled out the prospects. Nigeria ranks the top 10 international tourism arrivals in Africa. In fact, the World Economic Forum scores Nigeria between 2.5, 2.8 on a scale of 1 and 7, and then 129th in its global tourism competitive index.
Let me just flip that round for you.
Okay.
I would like to see the index in terms of domestic tourism. Where does Nigeria rank compared to those countries? Because our strength is in our numbers. I would like to see where we rank in terms of international tourism.
Okay.
How many Nigerians go abroad? And domestic tourism, how many Nigerians move from A to B and back to A? You will see that they are looking at it from just one side. I'd like to see the other side, because we have our strengths that are internal to us. Our domestic industry...
shouldn't international tourism count? That's what the world treats in the global currency.
I'm not saying it shouldn't count, but I'm just saying that because we're such a large country, because we've got huge numbers, diverse within our nation, you can look at it that, oh yes, not many Europeans are coming to Nigeria. But how many Nigerians are going to Europe and how many Nigerians are moving around Nigeria? Those are significant numbers as well. Because what we're talking about is cash creation, income creation, employment creation. That's where the meaning is to us. It's about the values we generate. It's not just about the fancy number that so many people came in. How much did they spend?
You're doing quite a lot in domestic tourism, but like you did in Fair earlier, we're not still where we should be, whether for domestic or whether for international. But very, very quickly, let me just say, there are concerns that international tourists do have, or international tourists have, that domestic tourists there also do have. These concerns are quite a lot. But like I said earlier, I've got a list here, and I'll quickly just read them out to you.
I would have loved to have answered that question before you went to that list, but go on.
No, please, go ahead and answer.
International tourism, it must be built on a solid foundation of domestic tourism. When you go to Dubai, when you go to Kenya, when you go to South Africa, all those things you enjoy are household domestic tourism assets that have been built over time. They're solid. All you do is connect an international ticket to them, and that's international tourism. So we want international tourism. We will grow it. Because of our numbers, our traction in all sorts of things cannot be ignored. But we must build that domestic. And what domestic tourism requires is what every Nigerian that lives in Nigeria also requires. So every penny that the government has spent generating 7,000 megawatts of electricity that benefits you and I as Nigerians also benefits the tourists. Every rail line that has been built, every hospital that is built, every kilometer of road that has been built are also tourism assets, even though they are specifically geared towards the life of the average Nigerian, for the benefit of the average Nigerian. It's a tourism asset as well.
That's quite interesting. But I was talking about concerns that concern.
What are the
concerns
you're talking about?
Let's start from the issue of security. One, that's just one.
Let me take you.
Let me just reel out a couple of them, and then we can take them one at a time, if you would indulge me. In fact, I'll begin with the issue of poor infrastructure. There is the issue of infrastructure. There is security, terrorism, and security concerns.
Yes.
There is misrepresentation of Nigeria abroad. There is the lack of proper management. There's also the lack of proper data. Very, very important. Lack of proper data. There is relegation of indigenous culture. There is inadequate investment and funding, air travel problems. We could go on and on and on, but you know what? Let me
take it.
I'll help you. I'll bring each of them up, and then we can discuss them. I think we should probably take security.
Thank you.
How concerned are you, and how do we begin to reverse the trend so that we can grow not just domestic tourism now, but also attract foreign tourists into our country?
I share the same concern as every Nigerian about security in Nigeria. Like every American has concerns about security in America. At least I haven't heard on the news in Nigeria that somebody took an AK-47, went into a school and massacred children in Maitama or Wuse or Asokoro, prime areas. We have security challenges. People who have security problems are like Syria, they're at war. We need to be responsible in how we report some of our own things. We make so much noise and clamor about, yes, we have security challenges. Yes, we have an issue with some religious sects who engage in terrorist activities. But they're not insurmountable. I mean, if I gave you a ticket now and I said go to London, where you know recently people were driven over on a bridge with a truck, is that going to stop you? Does that not constitute a threat to your life as well? I am saying that yes, we have some challenges. I am saying those challenges, like every country in the world has some security challenge or the other. I'm saying that they're not insurmountable, and they should stop being in the forefront of the discussion of what Nigeria is today. What Nigeria is today is not what it was 4 years ago. 4 years ago, there were bombings in this city. Now there are none. Yes, the structure of insurgency and terrorism, it's difficult to fight, but it is being fought. It is being pushed back into the bush. And every day we still hear of successes of the Nigerian security forces against terrorism. Let security not be this forefront problem. No, it's a challenge like every country has. And we can overcome it. We are overcoming it. And it should mean, we're in the studio here. I mean, is there a terrorist activity going on next door? The way you portray it is like every time you wake up, you're having a cup of tea, there's a near thermonuclear explosion around the corner. No, it isn't. Let us be fair in how we report this country.
Speak to the issue of the absence of appropriate data for tourism development or tourism planning in Nigeria.
We have just signed up with the UNWTO for the tourism satellite account. It's a process that we must go through. It's something that, 40 years it hasn't been done, but I have paid for it and we are pushing it, yes. It's a process. Okay. It's a process where you aggregate information from immigration, police, banks, telecoms, etc., to create a picture of who is coming, from where, going where, staying where, spending what, and all those things that what allows you to tweak a policy that favors tourism.
Great, fantastic. One of the issues that the bill currently that has left the Senate, passed by the Senate, awaiting assent from the president, One of the issues he brings up is the National Travel Bureau. What exactly will be the role of this bureau, and how would it help us develop tourism in Nigeria?
The National Travel Bureau is not new. The National Travel Bureau was created and existed in the old bill. It's existed for 40 years in the old bill.
But it wasn't quite functional, operational.
It's always been functional. What is the National Travel Bureau? It's to assist other government agencies as well as interested public in accessing information or accessing tourism sites.
I say this especially...
It's got about 15 civil servants as staff.
Okay.
And that's it. It's a department within NTDC of about 15 people. So what is the controversy of having 15 people, civil servants in a room, able to offer tours to FIRS or visiting dignitaries from the Villa or the National Assembly? It's like a conference visitors unit, a unit within the tourism agency that is able to provide services to other government agencies, provide information to other travel agencies within the tourism industry. But I think some people have misrepresented that it's like government has a travel agent that is competing with them. Sorry, what is the competition that 15 civil servants in a department in an office can compete against some of the bigger travel companies? Like, I don't want to advertise anybody, but some of the larger companies. It's just misrepresentation.
Growing tourism apparently is a continuous process, yeah, and requires input from quite a number of stakeholders. Do they know their roles and responsibility when it comes to, would you say that your partners do know their roles and responsibilities in growing this sector?
I think we've been fortunate in this country to have seen the oil boom that created cash. That oil boom was followed by the banking boom because the cash needed to be managed. The speed of communication also now needed to increase, so we saw the communications boom. Now the digital boom is knocking on the doors of Nigeria. It is going to disrupt every aspect of our lives, from how we see doctors, to how we get legal advice, to how we acquire information to do a lot of things. In the tourism ecosystem, the digital revolution and the disruptive effects is going to be how we are able to create value, employment. The largest taxi service in the world does not own a car, does not employ drivers, does not buy petrol or insurance. It's Uber. It allows you to buy what you need bite size. I buy a fraction of a car for a few hours, the driver with petrol, with insurance, and use it. And the company extracts value from that. You don't need to talk to anybody to move from A to B. Digital communication, digitally driven brand marketing, the future is digital. That's the way we've got to flow. That's my message to all the tourism stakeholders, that you've got to look at what you are doing. You've got to have, if you can't do it, you've got to have professionals analyze it for you. You've got to build a brand that allows you to connect your product to the people. You've got to drive that brand digitally. The days of printing pamphlets and handing them down to thousands of people, they're long gone. Because I can take a photograph of you now and send it to the 27,000 people I have on Instagram as friends and plead for them to please everybody repeat it. There's some people who have 5-6 million followers. So I can reach digitally in a matter of minutes so many more people. Now you've got what digital marketing is doing for tourism. Everybody in the ecosystem has to understand it. What image does somebody sitting down in Siberia see that generates the interest, that makes them want to come to this country? How do they access this country? What is their embassy experience, or what is their visa acquisition experience? What is their arrival experience? What is their value for money experience at the hotel? What is the experience just generally in Nigeria? We're very friendly people. We're not hostile. But if you read about us, the image is wrong. The conversation is negative. We need to reverse that. And the way to reverse that again is the digital drive. You've got to put more. It's not about the negative news about something happening here or there. No. It's about the images that you can harvest in Wikipedia. It's the images you can harvest from Google+. It's the images that you see of Nigeria, that Nigerians themselves are putting out. The positive images that tell a positive story that will then endear people to say, yes, I want to come to Nigeria. And two things. I am Nigerian. I am proud to be Nigerian. I love Nigeria. I love Nigerians, but I don't know Nigeria. That disconnect is also only the digital drive that is going to bridge it, because you have the Google tourism sites capture, where virtual reality, it's as if you're there. You've got the Wiki Wiki Loves Earth campaign, where they're asking Nigerians, take photographs of positive things around you in Nigeria and upload them. It's a competition. And from that, we are building positive archives of Nigeria. Whether we like it or not, the net is not going anywhere. Whether we like it or not, that is the medium that which people access a lot of information. Whether we like it or not, we have to tell our own story. We have to deepen the conversation about Nigeria with positive images and statements that will endear Nigerians to other people. People love the soul of every Nigerian. It's the soul of Nigeria, not your railway or your roads people come here for, or business, which is value, or religion. If you're coming to Nigeria for money or to pray, no matter what they say about Nigeria, you're coming here. But we're talking about the ones that are just on the leisure side. Come.
I'll stay on the issue of stakeholders and your work with stakeholders. Are there perhaps some practical linkages that you've created in working with, say, agencies like, or ministries like National Planning, Budget and National Planning, Information and Culture, and perhaps some other relevant agencies? Practical linkages that can literally help in growing the sector?
Yes.
Give us examples of
Ministry of Information, Alhaji Lai Mohammed is my boss, so there's not much of a choice there. I work for him. The Galaxy network that provide internet for all government agencies, we have a good relationship which gives us constant access to the digital world. NTA, of course, they are the media company of government, and we have a very good relationship with Lagos and Abuja in particular. Wherever we go, we carry NTA along. We have a memorandum of understanding with Wikimedia, who are the Wikipedia Foundation people, which means we're able to, relate in a manner that helps us push images to deepen the Nigerian experience of images on Wikimedia. We partnered with Google Nigeria for some of the street view that you can access on your phone now. Also, Google's 360 capture of our tourism sites. We're currently still working on that, where you can actually go online and get a virtual reality experience of you're actually in this place. If you turn left and right, you can get a feel of it. FIRS, we have a good relationship with them. We are trying to deepen that relationship, because whether you like it or not, tourism is a business that generates taxes, and we, as FIRS is the mothership of taxes in Nigeria, we need a deeper relationship with them. We are also trying to cultivate a relationship with the CAC, because it's important that there is a proper registration and regulation of companies that exist in the tourism space to protect people who are consuming from those businesses.
You often talk about the impact of the prospects and likely impact of tourism in Nigeria, and quite recently you were quoted in one of the national dailies as saying, and I quote, "The bedrock of tourism is not the big footprint of foreign brands, but rather the many cottage industries manned by passionate indigents. This is what allows tourism to be the largest employer of labor in the world, even over the oil industry," end of quote. Do you really believe we can get to such a level in Nigeria?
Absolutely. Tourism is the largest employer of labor in the world. It is tourism, predominantly it's transportation, hospitality, entertainment, broadly. All those industries, individual industries, employ people. Some of them strategically, women and the youth. When you also get a big footprint, like an international hotel comes and opens and invests and builds and opens in Abuja, for example, that is a capital inflow that must return and must also take profit back. What is the local content in that investment? How many jobs, meaningful, sustainable jobs are created? I look at the domestic side of things and I say, the little cottage industries are the foundation of the international tourism that we seek. So the little souvenir shops, the little restaurants, the tour guides, the taxi drivers. Imagine when you go on holiday, all those things you consume, they're all little businesses that exist. That is the solid foundation on which the giant footprints of international tourism can then come to land. How many people are employed in the oil industry in Nigeria? How many people are employed in transportation, hospitality, and entertainment industries, and the related industries within that ecosystem? How many? Can you see what I'm saying about the numbers? So if we deepen and grow tourism, yes, we may not see the high value, low volume that you have in the extractive industries, but you will see change. Look, 10 years ago, the largest companies in the world were ExxonMobil, General Motors, etc. Who are the largest companies in the world today? Apple, Microsoft, Google. What business are they in? What business consumes a lot of what they produce? Tourism. Think of all the technologies, especially digital, that every arm of that chain of that I mentioned of tourism consumes. What makes you want to go to Dubai? How do you get the images? How do you book the holiday? How does your ticket even come to you now? They don't write those red carbon tear away slips for you anymore. It comes to a digital device that takes you there. You get lost. How do you find this shop? How do you get to this? How do you connect with other people? How do you find a Nigerian restaurant if you feel like some, swallow?
Having said all of these, I mean, how do we go beyond the buzzword that tourism currently is right now? And maybe in terms of investment and funding, what level of investment and funding do we begin to see if we're to make a difference?
I don't want to quantify the funding. Tourism needs every penny it can get. Tourism needs cheap money. Tourism cannot develop with trader money. That short tenure, quick returns. No, it can't. Tourism could do with some of the taxes in tourism that are paid, that are supposed to accrue to tourism, coming directly back into tourism. Tourism could do with some government involved in investment, in like seed money. That seed money is what will point to the private sector, that government means business in terms of tourism investment. Let me give you an example. God has blessed us with many waterfalls. Most of the waterfalls the headwaters are bled for irrigation. So what comes off the waterfall is not the roaring, raging offshoot of water. It's just a little, close the headwaters. It's an investment. Dredge the pool where the water falls into. It's an investment. Light it up so that people can see it at night. It's an investment. Create a viewing area for people to sit down and watch. It's an investment. Build a little motel. It's an investment. Create a cluster of activities so people just don't drive all that way and return just to go and watch even a beautiful produced waterfall. We need direct foreign investment in tourism. We need both the big footprints and the small footprint businesses to come in. We need to look at our regulations and our corporate governance and say, why have these people not come in? What is preventing them from coming in? And try and adjust our policy based on research to encourage them to come in. What skill sets do they require while they are here? So they're not bringing people from abroad to work here. We need to train those people in those skills now to attract those people to come, or else they'll be bringing in foreign workers to man their stations. What are the returns, the welfare package of the people you train and employ? You don't train and employ a man to manage millions of dollars worth of resources, and his take-home pay is 15, 18, 25,000 naira. You will have a problem there. You and I know that we can buy a ticket today that says Manchester United and Chelsea are playing in Old Trafford on the 15th of May next year, and we can buy one product that is packaged: hotel, air ticket, football stadium ticket, hospitality ticket. We can package it, and we know that we have the confidence that this event will hold. We can buy that ticket. We don't have that here. So we need to package. Hotels need to speak to airlines. We need to create or promote events that those things can, like the Durbar in Kano, so people can forward buy hotel tickets, forward buy airline tickets, create packages to sell to someone like myself. I don't need to know anybody in Kano to go and watch the Durbar. You don't need to know anybody in London to go and watch Wimbledon. So we need to create products, package them, produce those products end to end, and sell.
I'd like you to speak furthermore on the hospitality industry, but that will be after this question that I need to ask you on image and impression. Especially, I'm actually more concerned about international tourism. I know we may not have conquered domestic tourism, but we just might be headed in the right direction. But of course, you would agree with me that images matter a lot, and what people think or perceive of you also do matter. Internationally, are we doing the right things? Are we selling ourselves positively enough to attract tourists into Nigeria? Are we selling some of our unique selling points, or are we advertising or throwing them up there for people to see and appreciate us and then come into our country?
To give you any waffly response would be a lie, so I'm going to address this directly. Answer is no. Answer is no simply because so much of our negative is amplified and so little of our positive is even mentioned. We've got to come together in Nigeria to understand that we need to be responsible in terms of what we report, what we sensationalize about this country, to give this country a chance to develop. It's not everything that happens in America that you see on CNN. It's not. Not just everything that happens as negative you see on BBC. Development journalism, development and the attitude towards developing a nation cannot always just focus on the negative. Yes, there are global giants in reporting who will help us report the negative and the positive. But we need to push out the positive for them to report about us. Every image, the negative image that is taken on a phone and posted on the social media site of Nigeria, it's not helping us. Yes, you have the right to tell the story. I'm not denying you that right. But do you need to? In the culture that you, Nnamdi, and myself as Fallen Shore come from, we don't abuse our parents, do we? Why do we abuse our fatherland and motherland so much? What is it? And we expect great things from this great country that we constantly abuse. Where will it find the energy or the spiritual guidance to even become the great, truly great nation it has the potential of being? Yes, there's a gap, and that gap I hope we will fill.
How do we fill it? By doing what exactly? Because I would think it is a collective...
Report responsibly.
That's just
focus on the positive. Take your story out there. I mean, CNN does Malaysia truly Asia. Malaysia is truly in Asia, but they show very positive images of it. Should
the responsibility lie solely on the media? How does political leadership factor in?
Political leadership is important in that it affects what happens in Nigeria.
And how you're seen abroad.
And how you're seen abroad. And I think we don't have a reckless leadership. We have a responsible leadership. We have a responsible leadership that has faced head-on some of the issues that have affected Nigeria globally. Corruption, security, and the economy. You see, you can't plant a seed in the morning and come in the evening hoping to harvest the sweet fruit. No, government is not like that. We did not drive this car without servicing it for 16 years. Then the mechanic says it's bad and we want it fixed in 30 minutes so we can drive it for another 16 years. No. It takes time. Development is not something that happens overnight. It requires patience. It requires nurturing. There are many things that do not... I can invest in power $100 million today. It will take 4 years for you to flip a switch and see that investment of $100 million. There's the generation, there's the transmission, there's the distribution before it hits you. I can grow rice today, build the fertilizer plant, build the rice mill. But until the rice grows, or with using the fertilizer, and it goes to the mill and is bagged, and rice prices tumble for it to hit your stomach before you will know what I have been doing.
For the benefit of those watching, I do know that tourism is leisure and business as well.
Yeah.
We have quite a number of places in Nigeria that people can go and visit. There's the Yankari Game Reserve, there's Olumo Rock in Abuja, there's the quite a number of them. Yeah. Can you just reel out a few of them and the prospect and potential they hold, not just for leisure now, but for business as well?
Let me just go straight to the potential. Everybody knows what they have in their localities. I want to speak directly to the owners of these assets.
Great.
NTDC does not own these assets. They're either owned by state governments, local governments, or specific federal government structures. Build clean toilets that people like you and I want to use in our homes. Build them there. It's employment in the building and in the maintenance. Ask traditional artifact makers to come and produce and maintain, build a shop, produce stuff, and maintain a shop there. So if I go to the dunes in Yobe, I can say, I toured Nigeria and I bought this in Yobe State. put a little bush bar where the local delicacies, I can sit down and have something to eat and drink. Talk to the telecom companies. Let the telecom companies give data, signal there, because people feel very insecure when they're isolated and have no access to telecoms. Put those basic things there. Let's see what happens.
There are whole lots that you're interested in talking about. I did say we were also going to talk about the hospitality industry as well, and how it factors in tourism, and now we either lack standard or were substandard. But all of these, of course, we can talk about when next you come on the program. Of course, we're hoping you would come on the program anytime we invite you to come. Mr. Folari Koka, thank you so much for coming on the program. It's been quite an interesting one for me, and I'm very sure our viewer out there has had fun also watching. We hope to bring you back some other time. We hope you would also oblige when next we invite you.
Absolutely. I definitely will.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank
well,
you.
That's it for this segment. Cecil Ogbele is up next with the media review segment.
This is the media review segment of Insight. Before the coming of social and online media, traditional media, talking about TV, radio, print, was the main source of information, and this set agenda for discourse in public space. With this huge responsibility, thorough research, fairness, and factual reporting is always paramount, because, of course, it builds up the image of these broadcast houses, print or TV or even radio. Well, today the story is different. Anybody can pick up and use a piece of information, and sometimes even fabricate an information, spread it on the social media, and boom, it's everywhere. Fake news. That's how fake news spreads. Well, to discuss the issue of fake news today on the program, I have with me the Abuja Bureau Chief of Orient Daily, Cyril Mba. Welcome, sir.
Greetings.
You've been in the business of journalism for a long time, and you'd agree with me that before the coming of social and online media, traditional media was the main source of information. And the issue of fake news, maybe it was there it wasn't trending as bad as it is today. What do you think where did you think we got it wrong? What happened along the way?
Well, thank you very much for having me on this platform. You have already introduced me. Cyril Azwano Kamba has been a journalist, a professional journalist. You see, the problem we have today is the explosion of social media. There are so many reporters, but very few journalists. Everybody in the planet is a reporter. Whether you believe it or not, everybody is a reporter. When you send a text message, you have reported. But there are very few journalists. And when I talk about journalists, I'm talking about professional journalists, right? So we have gotten it wrong because we have failed to differentiate between who is a reporter and who is a journalist. Many media houses, especially the online media houses, who do not want to pay reporters, they simply engage members of the public. You know, because of the boom in cell phones, the boom in a lot of electronic devices with which you can simply send in messages across. In those days, we used to talk about not text message, but a telegram and so on and so forth. So you have to go to the post office first. But now, sitting wherever you are, you can just send a text message, and it will get to all across the globe. But
it even makes the job of the journalist easier.
Yes, it does. But then that is why we have a boom in what we call fake news. What is fake news?
Exactly. What is fake news?
What is fake news? Fake news is information that you give that is not correct. Information that you give that you do not know the consequences of what will happen the next moment you release it from your phone. Fake news is dangerous.
In order to throw a little more light into the elements that make what we call fake news, what makes it fake news? There might be some element of truth in it, maybe 70% truth in it. So what exactly makes up fake news? Let's get that.
I agree with the saying that behind every smoke there must be fire.
There may be a fire.
Right? But not every smoke produces fire anyway.
Okay.
When you think about it practically, right? Most people who send out fake news do that for personal interest.
Okay.
Right? They have something they want to achieve, an objective. And when you want to achieve an objective, it doesn't really matter whatever platform you use or whatever you say to achieve your objective. Many of the people that engage in fake news are simply making gossip. That is, making gossip a better platform now, like it used to be. Before, we used to say, I hear say. But now, you just text, and it will spread across the whole world.
Okay, now, are you trying to say the institution or the individual, so with the news being broadcast is directed, can determine if it's fake news or not?
Well, I think where we are getting problems wrong is this. Most of the platforms we have, social news platforms, I'm not criticizing them, they have really done a lot for journalism, right? Social media platforms, some of them who are in the business today do not want to pay reporters. So they engage members of the public to give them any trash, and they call it news. But what is news? News is information. What is information? Information should inform you. But what fake news does is disinform you, right? You remember Rwanda. You remember what happened there. It was fake news that caused the war that killed more than 200 or 300,000 people in Rwanda. Such things can happen in Nigeria.
A classical example, I believe, is what happened in Lagos, the Lagos airport. A picture trending that there was an attack at the Lagos airport, and the authorities came out to say this was a picture of a simulation exercise of the Nigerian Air Force, which happened like two years back. That was just a classical example of fake news, and it could have triggered almost anything in the country, and travelers got frightened. True.
Well, you see, they call it photoshopping, you know. The people bring incidents that have happened in the past. It doesn't really matter how many years ago. And then they repost and share such pictures and make it look as if it is current. But in actual fact, many social media platforms are really doing a lot of damage to the integrity of journalism. Not only to the integrity of journalism, but to the security of nations. And we have to really guide against it. Let me use this opportunity to thank the Honorable Minister for Information, you know, over what he is doing about tackling this fake news syndrome. It is really a big problem. Many of us who are in journalism are really not happy. We are not happy because of what is happening. Anybody can post anything. If you employ a professional journalist, right, to gather information and give to your media and feed your media house, he knows the consequences of giving you a fake news. And when he gives you that fake news, he will go for it. Something happened in Kaduna State where a reporter, a journalist, sent in something to his media house, which was fake. And the Kaduna State government took it up with him. That matter is still in the court up till today. So we know what it is.
And are you a member of you are with the NUJ?
Yes.
Very briefly, is the NUJ working on anything at all to protect the spread of this fake news through social media and maybe other traditional media? The
National Executive of the NUJ just came in. there's a new national executive,
Yes.
and I'm not really very conversant with their program. The past executive has not done or did not do anything positive about fake news.
Okay, well, let's hope that the new executive will look
Yes.
at it critically, because
Yes.
it's going to cause really, especially as the election season
Yes.
comes
Yes.
around the corner. And I know some time back the Senate made an attempt to pass into law the social media bill, but right now I think it's been stalled. PR, public relations, propaganda, and fake news, what are the difference, very briefly?
Well, as a public relations man, you are paid to give a very good image of the organization you represent.
Okay.
Like, let me use the Honorable Minister for Information, for instance. We can call him a chief PR man
For
for
the
the government.
Okay.
Because he would always paint the image of the government very, very bright.
Okay,
right?
propaganda?
Propaganda is when you deliberately issue out what you might call fake news.
Really?
Right. That is propaganda. It falls within propaganda. You know it is really wrong. What you're saying is wrong, but you issue it out as something that you want the public to believe.
I was almost going to believe that, like some people think, propaganda and public relations, they are like twins.
No. Well, there's a
they're all in an attempt to portray a positive,
but
like,
there's a meeting point.
conscious effort.
Yes,
Okay.
there's a meeting point. But
So you mean propaganda tilts a little towards fake news?
Fake news, yes.
All right. So anyhow, I will just leave the discussion of fake news as it is, hoping that we'll bring you back. Let's talk a little more about it. Look at the many other areas of the different media and how they can propagate fake news and how we can help eliminate fake news. Thank you very much, Cyril Mba, Abuja Bureau Chief of Orient Daily.
It's my pleasure.
All right, on Media Review segment, we have been talking fake news, and I hope you have been educated. So make sure you know the source of a news item you receive before broadcasting it, and make sure also that it doesn't cause more harm than good. The program is Media Review segment. In a moment, I will back on with Nnamdi Odikpo.
It's been quite an interesting episode for me. Cecil?
Yeah, it's been quite interesting. I liked your discussion with the NTDC boss. And there are quite some places I would like to visit in Nigeria, like the Ogbenike Caves, you know, the Yoba Benin Palace. I think we should really promote our local tourism.
Well, that's it for this week. Do join us same time next week for more on Insight.